In the rich history of Spanish, there is a very special case regarding the appearance and later extinction of one of the letters in its alphabet. This letter was none other than the C Cedilla, which is still used in other Romance languages, such as French, Portuguese, or Catalan, and which had a significant place in the formation of our language. In this video, we will explore the origin of the C Cedilla, its evolution within Spanish, the reasons for its disappearance, and how other languages adopted and maintained its use. To understand the origin of the cedilla, we have to go back to the letter Z from medieval Latin. During the shift from vulgar Latin to Romance, Iberian scribes, especially the Visigothic ones, began to look for ways to represent new sounds that emerged as the language evolved. The cedilla was created by adding a small c above the letter Z to form a new character. This new character represented the ETS or DZ sound, which did not have a clear representation in the Latin alphabet, and gave rise to the so-called Visigothic zeta. Therefore, it can be established that the origin of the cedilla dates back to the 11th century in medieval Spain, where it was initially called C Cedilla, which corresponded to the diminutive of the letter Z, which at that time was called Seda. Its use quickly spread to other Romance languages, as these languages saw in its use an opportunity to adopt the sounds that were also emerging in the structure of each language. For example, French adopted the cedilla in the same Middle Ages. Its main function was to indicate that the letter C should be pronounced as S instead of K, before the vowels I, O, U, or the diphthongs E or U, A. This specific use made it possible to resolve phonetic ambiguities and maintain consistency in pronunciation. This adaptation survives to this day, and examples of French words with a C cedilla include garçon, which means boy, façade, French for façade, among many others. Just like in French, the use of the cedilla in Portuguese was an adaptation to resolve ambiguities in the pronunciation of the letter C. Throughout history, the Portuguese language has maintained this sign, as can be seen in old grammars and historical documents. Examples of its use in Portuguese include ação, façanha, maçã, a fruit. On the other hand, the cedilla C, known in Catalan as C trincada, has been an integral part of its spelling, helping to maintain clarity in pronunciation and avoid confusion. Catalan documents from the 11th century already show the use of the cedilla C, indicating its early adoption in this language. And, just like in French and Portuguese, it is primarily used to represent the S sound before the vowels A, O, and U. Can it then be said that this particular feature, shared among these Romance languages, is the result of the influence of Castilian, which at the time inspired the adoption of this grapheme in these languages? Let's revisit the evolution of Cervantes' language. In the Middle Ages, the cedilla was used to represent the sound of the letter Z in words like fuerza and cazador. During this time, it can be seen that the cedilla was widely used in the written language. However, over time, the sound represented by this sign gradually began to change. In 15th century Spanish, the TS and DZ sounds began their transformation into the S and the current Z sound used in Spain. This phonetic change reduced the need for a special letter to represent these sounds. Even so, the widespread use of the Cedilla in Hispanic literature was documented in numerous texts and historical documents. For example, in the Book of Good Love written in the year 1330 by the archpriest of Ite, you can find multiple examples of the use of this letter. Another important record is the Book of Examples of Count Lucanor and Petronio, written around the year 1335 by Don Juan Manuel, Prince of Villena, where the Cedilla appears frequently. Its use in Castilian can be observed even into the 16th century in the inscriptions that still remain in dozens of churches and monasteries founded by Spanish congregations. Another notable example to mention is the original edition of La Celestina by the Spanish writer Fernando de Rojas, which dates back to the year 1499, where it can be seen that the Cedilla was used in many words, such as alcanzar and corazon. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell to remind you when there's a new video. But you might be wondering right now, how and when exactly did this letter disappear from Spanish? This disappearance can't be attributed to a specific date and corresponds to a gradual process, since it's due to a combination of phonetic and orthographic factors. As we've mentioned before, as the TS and DZ sounds evolved into S and Z, the need for a special letter to represent them decreased. And in addition to this, the orthographic reforms of the Spanish language aimed to simplify and standardize writing. A crucial point in the disappearance of the Cedilla was the decision by the Royal Spanish Academy to eliminate its use in favor of a more uniform orthography. In 1726, the Real Academia Española published the first edition of its orthography of the Castilian language, where clear rules for Spanish writing were established. In this work, it was suggested to eliminate the Cedilla and replace it with Z or C, depending on the phonetic context. Finally, it was in the 19th century, in 1851, when the rules of Spanish orthography, as we know them today, were finally established. With the exception of some aspects concerning accentuation, the Royal Spanish Academy has played a fundamental role in the regulation and standardization of orthography. Its main objective has been to make writing as simple and logical as possible, eliminating ambiguities and simplifying the representation of sounds. Following these premises, the decision to eliminate the use of the Cedilla was part of a broader effort to unify Spanish orthography. In addition to its elimination, the Real Academia Española also introduced other reforms, such as the consistent use of C and Z to represent these sounds before E and I. These decisions helped to consolidate a coherent and easy-to-learn orthography, which is the standard of our language today. The final question might be, is it possible that at some point the use of the Cedilla could return to the Spanish language? The answer seems to be quite obvious, and it's no. Unfortunately or fortunately, for many. This is because nowadays this sign is perceived as quite foreign to Spanish, and it would violate the principle of simplification, which is why it was eliminated. And even though it seems to become trendy at times, like in the advertisements for the Barcelona soccer team or in tourist packages for destinations like Curacao, they are still orthographies specific to their original languages. And that's all for today. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to this channel. I also invite you to turn on the notification bell so you get reminded when there's a new video. See you soon. Thank you.